does the person you are with encourage you to read? You have to ask, what does he bring for me? Roses or books? If someone has a stake in making you better, that person will push you towards books. Books are what we all need. We are such pathetically dependent beings that we depend on others even for our birth. Sounds nice? Forget about living in an independent way. Independently, you cannot even take birth. So two strangers have to get together and work really hard. Really beat the sweat out of each other's bodies for you to be somehow born. And they are strangers, are they not? After you take birth, somebody has to tell you, Papa. Otherwise you will not know. And if you talk of the physical bond you have with your mother, some other lady could have substituted. She could have nursed you and you wouldn't have even known. Right? Sometimes even a goat suffices. If unfortunately the mother is no more. So not everybody will turn to spirituality, you see. Only someone who feels deeply disgraced. In some sense, only someone who has an ego that gets offended. And only someone who has some intellect, some wit about him. Only someone who does not want to console or entertain himself with hollow notions of self-sufficiency or independence or freedom. There are others who would say, you see, I earn so much these days. So what do I call myself? Independent. No. You must have a little more intellect. Only someone who applies some thought and says, what independence? What independence? You see, just before I was to start the session, I received a message on my college group, online group. They don't usually refer to me, but tonight somebody was probably in a bad mood or something. So they posted a photo of some guru, and it was carrying the lines that to know yourself, go within. For everything else, there is Google. And specifically, he tagged me and said, kindly comment. So I said, this is an understatement. And I was writing on that group after a period of maybe 2 years or something. But since I was asked to, I replied. So I said, this is an understatement. Whatever you are, from top till bottom, can be found on Google. If you say that to find yourself, you will need to go within. For everything else, there is Google. You are assuming that some part of you will not be found on Google. I think this is conceit. You think too much of yourself. You think that there is something transcendental or extraordinary about you that Google cannot capture. No. We are crawlers when it comes to life, and Google has trawlers. Trawlers catch crawlers. Are you getting it? Only someone who feels very offended at this state of affairs is likely to turn spiritual. If you are somebody, as most of my batchmates are, everything about you is there on Google. You just type their name and you'll get to know everything about them. A few of them probably even have their own Wikipedia pages and things. Even if they don't have that, then there is LinkedIn and so much else that you can. So your degrees, your family, your date of birth, your height, your weight, and your affairs, your controversies, everything can be found on Google. Now tell me, what are you beyond your height, your weight, your bank balance, your family, your career graph? Are you anything? Now, rare is the rebel who says, this is unacceptable. Am I me, or am I spread all over the internet? Some part of you is there on Twitter, some part of you can be found on some website, some part of you is there on LinkedIn. If someone wants to see how your physical being is, he just has to click on Google Images. Tell me, what is it about you that someone cannot learn on Google? Assuming that you are reasonably famous. Either you are already fully on Google, or you are potentially on Google, or you are a loser in life. Who just keeps desiring to be on Google. Is there anything about us that words, images, data, others cannot capture or cannot know? And if they can capture all this, then I am a captive in life. I don't like this. There has to be something about me. Hell, why something? The most important part of me, my essence, has to be something that no Google can ever touch, that no words can ever describe. Only someone who has this dimension of dissatisfaction will turn spiritual. Others will continue the way they are. Are you getting it? Are you getting an insight into the Upanishadic method? Upanishads do not have feet of clay. When after the French Revolution, Europe was passing through the age of enlightenment, then the philosophers of the time used to take great pleasure in quipping that the gods have feet of clay. And that the temples are all in the skies And they don't even have pillars to bind them or root them to the earth. In other sense, your temples are all just wisps of imagination. They have no concrete base. Vedanta, on the other hand, has a very, very concrete base. And that base is not speculative. That base is not dogmatic or doctrinal. That base is factual. What is the base? Repeat. The base is I am. My life. No esoteric base, nothing subjective, nothing that only you can experience. Something that is factual and something that is being experienced by everybody. You exist, or do you not? In your eyes you exist. This is where Vedanta starts from. First, I exist. Would you want to dispute that? Even to dispute that, you will have to exist. So let's not. Second, I am and I am not satisfied. This is where Vedanta starts from. Vedanta doesn't start off by saying, oh, there is a holy God sitting somewhere in the skies and let's all worship him. No, not that way. Brahma and Atma come much later. Who comes first? Aham. You start from Aham and you want to treat Aham. Aham is you. And in the process of treating Aham, you reach, you become, you find that you always were Brahm. But Brahm is not the objective, even though the entire thing is called Brahma Vidya. Brahm is not the objective. The objective is to heal your condition. That's the objective. Because Brahm you do not know of. How can Brahma be the objective? What do you know of in your day-to-day living? You know of your daily miseries. You know how pissed off you are at small things. This is what your daily experience comprises of, right? So that's where Vedanta starts from. Let there be no doubt regarding this. Are you getting it? Vedanta is more scientific than science. Science begins by saying this exists. Now let me investigate this. How will science begin? This exists. Now I will investigate this by the method of experimentation and observation. Vedanta says, right, this exists. I'm not doubting that. But before this exists, I exist. And I'm not feeling well. I want to talk about that first. Maybe if I feel well, I'll no more feel the need to talk about this. Or maybe I'll feel. If I'll still feel the need to talk about this, I will talk about this. Therefore, Vedanta is not at all opposed to science. Vedanta is just more fundamental than science. Science will say, let's talk about this. Vedanta says, let's talk about the seer of this. And later on we can go into this. And even if I have to talk about this, I'll keep in mind the one who is talking about this. Because even the urge to talk about this comes from someone's dissatisfaction. Remember that if I am at absolute peace, I'll not want to talk about anything randomly. Or would I? We talk of things because things hold meaning to us. We talk of things because we expect benefit from things. We expect benefit from things because internally we are impoverished and demanding and expectant. So before I venture into this thing, I want to go into the one within who is seeking solace in things. That's the way of Vedanta. Are you getting it? So Vedanta is not at all about some God somewhere. In fact, there is no God in Vedanta. Many Vedantic scholars have used the word God, but when they have used the word God, it does not carry the same meaning as the God of the West. The God of the West, the God of Abrahamic religions, is a very active God. A God that creates, a God that is sometimes merciful, sometimes wrathful, a God that is sometimes even envious, a God that is sometimes even revengeful. And even if he is not revengeful or wrathful, he is surely interested in the world because he keeps accounts, and on a given day he would call everybody and close the cases. Some would be rewarded, others would be flogged. So that's God. In Vedanta there is no God. In Vedanta there is no God. Ishwar is there. But then that Ishwar is Saguna. And Gun comes from Prakriti. And another name for Prakriti is Maya. Ishwar is Sagun. And all Gun belong to Prakriti. And Prakriti is Maya. Therefore Ishwar is Maya. Are you getting it? So, the moment you attach attributes to even Brahm, Brahm is no more Brahm. Now even Brahm is Maya, though that Brahm we worship by the name of Ishwar. Are you getting it? People say that Sagun Brahm is Ishwar. But the moment Brahm starts carrying Gun, now Brahm is in the domain of Prakriti. Gone, finished. Just like us. We are Sagun, right? If Brahm also becomes Sagun, game over. Though it's a matter of a more detailed and separate discussion, that just as a method, probably human beings, or at least some human beings, require Ishwar. But Ishwar can at best be a method, never the truth. There is a difference between the truth and the method used to reach truth. Ishwar can be a method, a temporary method, a bridge that you need to use and cross. Once you have crossed the bridge, you leave it. Brahm is not something that you use. Brahm is unusable. Nor can you cross over Brahm to reach somewhere else. Brahm is the transcendental. You cannot transcend Brahm. But Ishwar you can and you must transcend. Getting it? So this was about the Vedantic method of negation.